Hey there guys, welcome back to another Legally Armed America video. I'm of course Paul Glasgow here guys. I'm a little bit under the weather, so if you see eyes watering, you see nose running, you see me clear my throat, forgive me because I do feel like I'm going to make some unintentional guttural noises as a result of something that's wrong, flu, whatever. Maybe it's the new strain that Fauci has unleashed on us. But you guys have no doubt seen the mass deportation efforts by Tom Homan and Donald Trump so far, sending all these criminals back to the countries that they came from. Of course, we know the saga of the Colombian president who tried to flex his muscles a little bit, an hour later retracted that. It's just funny how whenever you show people that daddy's home and he's taking the belt off, that people kind of get in line. And that is certainly what happened here. Something I want to draw attention to. We've already seen this past week, in 6 days after Donald Trump was in office, 6 days, a very well organized protest, especially in the Dallas area. Now, this is not something that just pops up. This was something that was, again, very well organized by somebody. I think his name starts with a Soros and ends with a Soros. As usual, that's usually the main culprit. But it's a clear effort by a heavily funded group to try to destabilize America constantly. This never stops, but it always tends to get a little bit crazier whenever there is a Republican president, more specifically Donald Trump in the last 2 terms. And of course, again, 6 days after this man takes office, there's already organized protests. Let's be really clear about something. These people who would otherwise be protesting in this area, they don't organize well. And my point is somebody, again, has organized them. Even whenever they want to come up through Mexico to illegally enter into the country, somebody is organizing that for them. Again, the Soroses, the NGOs, the UNs, money from the United States to fund all these NGOs, which, by the way, that should certainly be investigated, not on a small scale, on a massive scale. But these people are not known for organizing. I'm talking about the people entering this country illegally and those who are protesting. So that's not exactly a skill set of theirs. Remember, the left, they're the ones who always tell us that their skill set is picking fruit and cleaning hotel rooms. I didn't say that. They say that. They're constantly telling us, who's going to clean your hotel rooms? Who's going to pick your fruit? So that's not exactly a skill set that's known for organizing these massive protests or these treks across Mexico to get into the United States illegally. So you know somebody else is calling these shots. But what I found particularly odd about this video was this one chick right here who's bitter, saying that read her sign while you're listening to her, but she's bitter, stating that we stole or took their country from them. Watch the video first and I'll have my point to it.
It's just so important because of the sacrifice that my parents made to come here, a land that belonged to us, and to come and be a first-generation American, first-generation high school and college graduate with my master's degree. I am proud to support all of our Mexican immigrants, all of our immigrants.
A couple of things. They're not immigrants. They're not immigrants. They're illegal aliens. They did not get the required permission to come here. Now, one question I have to ask about your parents, because you speak really good and perfect English. You've apparently been living here your entire life, right? I didn't even sense a hint of an accent with you. So clearly you were probably born and raised here in America. Did your parents come here legally or illegally? If they came here legally, good for you. That's awesome. Glad you got your master's and all that. That's super, super awesome. Happy, happy, happy for you. Did they come here illegally? If they came here illegally, then you're an anchor baby. And again, I guess good for you because you still managed to make something of yourself. And guess what? According to the left, your only skill is cleaning hotel rooms and picking fruit. You got a master's. Hopefully you're doing something more than picking apples in an orchard somewhere. But you state the land that belonged to us? Really? That's adding to your argument, you think? You believe that that's adding to what you've got to say, the weight of speaking out against deportation of illegal aliens? So you think that the argument that this land used to be Mexican land that you're standing on in Dallas, Texas, the fact that it used to be part of Mexico, justifies stopping the deportation of illegal aliens. You do realize you're standing in the United States of America, right? You do understand that, right? And we did not steal or take your land. Quite the opposite. And a quick side note, I don't hear England pissing and moaning that we are standing in their land, that we took their land. I don't see them crying about that. They took their L and they ran with it. They understood what happens when you lose. Speaking of losing, let me explain something to you how wars work. This is a map of Mexico and the United States back in the day, right? This is just prior to the start of the Mexican-American War. Notice the green section there. A very large portion of Texas is included in that. A lot of people think that the Mexican-American War was about all of Texas, and it was not. It was about the western part of Texas that you see with the red and white lines over there. A large portion of Texas was already part of the United States. So if you look, that was the disputed area of Texas. Now, all this area in yellow over here, yeah, that wasn't being disputed. So that was already Mexico. Mexico had a ton of what is currently the United States of America. They kind of started the fight because Texas wanted to leave Mexico, did not think Mexico was doing very well for them, and they felt they would be better off with the rest of the United States of America. So that started the dust up a little bit. And if you notice this section down here between Mexico and the green part of Texas, there was a large dispute that the Rio Grande was not the southern border, and Mexico and Texas, it's pretty much what sparked the fight right there. It was really both areas disputed that. There was a river, and it evades me what the river was that Mexico thought was the border, mainly because I don't care, because that wasn't the border. And the United States said that the Rio Grande was the actual southern border of Texas. Well, Mexico didn't like that. Another quick side note that I'd like to point out before I get further into this is that the United States offered Mexico to not only recognize that small disputed area of the border, Rio Grande, with the United States, but the United States offered $30 million for California and other smaller portions, not that entire yellow section that you see, but for smaller portions of Mexico to make it America, right? $30 million. Now, again, not a lot of money today, a lot of money back then. Remember that number, $30 million, as we get to the end of this. Bottom line is Mexico refused to take the $30 million for sale of the states out west. In fact, they cut off communication with the United States shortly thereafter, ticking off the American president, who then decided to wage war against Mexico and start the Mexican-American War. Again, we were trying to buy something, you cut off your communication with us, and we were already disputing an area that both sides claimed to be their own. Very common for wars to be started like this back then, mainly over land disputes and border disputes. Well, it certainly didn't take the United States long to beat the brakes off of Mexico. Mexico, clearly, I guess their skills were pretty much cleaning hotel rooms and picking fruit, because they didn't put up much of a fight. A year and a half later, the United States, a lot of people don't realize, they think that a lot of this fighting took place strictly on American soil, and a lot of it went all the way down to the southern part of Mexico. Took the city of Monterrey. Battle of Buena Vista was a big battle. Veracruz, and even the capital, Mexico City, all taken by the United States. So we had conquered the entire country. The whole country, from border to border of Mexico. We could have kept the whole country. Now, when I say that the Mexicans didn't put up much of a fight during the Mexican-American War, it was pretty pathetic, okay? The Americans lost 1,500 troops. The Mexicans lost 25,000 troops. 1,500 to 25,000. Let me rephrase that a little bit differently so it sounds more realistic. We lost a little over 1,500 troops to their 25,000 troops, and we marched our way all the way to their southern border. We owned the entire country in a year and a half. Hell, we lost more troops to smallpox, measles, and infection than we did to the actual enemy during the Mexican-American War. Once it was all said and done, Mexico had ceded to the United States nearly all the territory now included in the states of New Mexico, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, California, Texas, and western Colorado. And we gave them $15 million. So remember, all we wanted before was California and New Mexico. And we were going to still give them $30 million for California and New Mexico. Instead, we got New Mexico, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, California, Texas, and Colorado, and we gave them $15 million. So they gave up more and they got less. Oh, and guess what? This is the cool thing. For those of you that say, we took your land, wars mean something. We let you keep the other half of your country. You understand that, right? We could have kept the whole damn thing, and we didn't. We let you keep half of your country. After we beat the brakes off of you, killed 25,000 of your troops, and took over your entire country, we still left it for you. Now here's another thing. Mexico has a pretty abundant country, right? The ground is just as fertile as most parts in the United States. You have natural resources. You have seaports on both sides, right? You essentially have a different version of the United States, except for one thing. The United States isn't quite as corrupt as Mexico. I did not say that the United States was not corrupt. Please understand that I will never make that claim. And if I do, it is certainly a slip of the tongue, because if you know me, you know my thoughts on the United States and how corrupt we are. Knowing how corrupt we are, Mexico is way more corrupt. And that's why your country sucks. That's why people don't want to stay in Mexico. That's why people come here, because of the freedoms and the goodness of this country. And I do believe, because I work alongside some Mexican people, that your people are way more qualified than cleaning hotel rooms and picking fruit. I've seen it with my own eyes. I know some very intelligent, smart, hardworking Mexican people who would never pick fruit or clean hotel rooms. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but they're far more qualified than that. So for the left to say that the only thing we lose whenever we deport these people is somebody to pick our fruit and clean our hotel rooms, that's kind of shallow, and to me is a massive slap in the face to the Mexican people and their culture. But you know your country is corrupt, right? Just like I know the United States is. Surely you understand that you could have what we have here. Now, you'd have people mass migrating to your country if you were as good as us, but you're not. Your country sucks. Your people failed the country. That's the problem. I actually have a very good friend of mine who lives in the Houston area. A very smart guy, good dude. But I've even seen his Facebook posts where he says things like his grandmother mentioned to him, our people aren't crossing the border crossed us. Guys, you got to pay attention in school. You really do. I mean, I understand the school system is a failed system. That's why we need to get rid of the national movement that likes to think that the Department of Education should not be disbanded. It should be, because it's training stupid people. Because people should know that the border didn't cross Mexicans. Mexico all but gave up on all these portions that we just talked about, from California to Texas. Mexico pretty much bent over and pulled their pants down during the Mexican-American War. They put up no fight. So you only have yourselves to blame. And that's also the weird ideology of the wackos on the far left. It's an ideology that the New World Order folks really want everybody else to embrace, because it makes things equal when you think like that. Because you think, even though, and some of you may realize that the American people, the United States, beat the brakes off of Mexico during that war. You might know. But you still think that you're entitled to that same area, because we're in that era of everybody getting a trophy. And I'm very, very hopeful that that's being undone right now with a lot of the other stupid silliness that goes on. But listening to this woman, who has a master's degree, by the way, say that we took the country from them. Either she's stupid and uneducated and her master's degree means nothing because she doesn't realize the United States beat the crap out of Mexico during the Mexican-American War, or she knows that the United States beat the crap out of Mexico, but she thinks that, based on that weird liberal progressive ideology, that we should still be nice about it and let them have it. So we're fighting over something and we basically let you keep it? No, that's not how things work. So that's part of the problem. They have ingrained this ideology into these stupid idiots out there who think that even though you win a war, you should give people their stuff back. And that's simply not how it works. Oh, and we have the Second Amendment here too. That's pretty cool. Guys, remember, Anyone who seeks to disarm you is trying to disarm you for a reason, and that reason will be something you'd probably shoot them for.